Hi, and welcome to the channel. If it's your first time here, thank you so much for visiting my channel. This video in particular is very important, very special to me because it comes from the subscribers. That's right. You all have asked a lot of questions, specifically 3 subscribers I'm going to do in this video. But if you have questions and you want to ask those questions, why not just put those down in the comment section of this video? First question comes from a subscriber. I don't share their names. I'm just going to share what they ask. The question is, this video is the newest video I found on this topic, but it's still 2 years old. Is there still relevancy to Lean Six Sigma today? Are there still good jobs in the industry? Because a lot of my clients are moving towards other methodologies, and I almost never get asked about Lean Six Sigma work today. Maybe I'm marketing to the wrong people. I don't know. So this subscriber is specifically referencing this video right here. How much money Six Sigma belts can earn at each belt level. It was 2 years ago, and they want to know, is this still relevant, right? Is this still relevant? Can you still earn that kind of money? Their clients aren't asking for this, and so I want to go into some detail and answer this question for this subscriber. As I go through the answer to this question, I'll also be answering another subscriber's question, which is this. Chad, I am a speaker and trainer. I am thinking of becoming a Lean Sigma trainer. I think they meant Lean Six Sigma trainer. Can you explain the process and how it works to help your salary? Okay, so I'll be answering both of those questions sort of in the context of this, and there's one more question that I'll lead into after this. So I want to answer this question by saying, yes, there is still relevancy today, but not really with Six Sigma. Things have changed a lot in the last couple of years, but these things seem to always change. And I talk about this some in my videos. Most businesses these days are leaning towards lean, right? And you might see me glance down at my notes. Apologies for that, but I want to make sure I get all of this in the right order. So when we talk about lean, we're talking about removing waste from a process, right? Making a process flow better. That's the simplest way, simplest definition I can give you at the moment. Yes, there's a lot that goes into that, but we're not going to dive into that because that's not what this video is about. So basically removing waste from a process. The other part of the question the subscriber asked is, are there still good jobs in the industry? And to answer that question, I want to share a recent research study that I did myself where I went through and I looked up different search titles around Lean and Six Sigma. Now, when I did this study across just the US and found that there are no shortages of companies who want people who know how to solve problems through root cause analysis, which I talk a lot about. There's no shortage of companies that want people who know how to improve processes through lean and theory of constraints, right? If you can get more output with less input, not people, but with less input, meaning that you are able to reduce the waste within the process, thereby getting more output. Certainly companies want folks like that. And if you want to be able to do that rapidly, like if companies want people like you and I to do that rapidly through Kaizen within a week, then yeah, of course, there are people that are still, or companies that still want folks in this industry. And there are still good jobs because I found plenty of good jobs. And I've been in this industry for a long time. I've seen it change. And so I know where the industry has been, where it is now, and I have my opinions and thoughts on where it's going. Now, surprisingly, when I went through my analysis and my data, as you can see on the screen here, only 53% of the companies that popped up during my research required a bachelor's degree or above. 37% of the postings wanted either equivalent experience, they preferred the degree, but they didn't require it, and 10% didn't even mention a degree. In other words, they were focused more heavily on the experience. So let's think about that for a second, right? 53% required a bachelor's degree. I was surprised by that. I thought there would be more. As I thought through this, I was like, well, okay, that makes sense. A lot of companies are focus in on people who have experience. When you think about 53% versus 47%, 53% saying, it's required, you have to have a degree. 47% saying, listen, you don't have to have a degree, but we either prefer it, we need equivalent experience, or they just don't even mention it at all. That's a pretty big number, a pretty big percentage. I thought that was 47% is pretty huge, right? When you asked about a good job, right? Now we can debate on what a good job means. I've never worried about not having a job with this specific skill set. This is a great skill set if you know how to use the tools and get results. And that's what I teach, right? So what does good mean, right? So we could debate a bunch of different variables that we could all say have opinions on. But I think one of the variables that we'd all agree on, that if it's a good job, that we would say it has a good salary, right? It has to have, you have to get paid for what you do. My research also revealed that companies are willing to pay over $100,000 for folks that have just 5+ years of experience. So between 5-6 years of experience is when they break the 100K mark if they know how to use the tools. I'm telling you, this is what came up in the research, because remember, when you go through these job postings and they're telling you like how many years of experience they want, this 5-year mark seemed to be the happy mark for earning that type of a salary. Now listen, this is not indicative of you being able to go out and get a job making $100,000 if you're 27 years old, right? Because if you graduated at 22, I guess, got a job, 5 years, you're 27. That's not indicative that you're going to be able to do that, but it is possible. But you got to be able to articulate the value. And I talk about that a lot, articulating the value that you're able to deliver on your resume, right? You got to be able to show that. And the only way you can show that is if you've actually done the work. Now, there's ways to pull out some things you've done. In other words, I've seen a lot of resumes from people who have done really good work but didn't know how to articulate their value on their resume, so they weren't able to get jobs. So we had to help them out with that. But I've also known people that didn't have a lot of experience. They have 5 years of work but didn't have a lot of lean or continuous improvement experience. So we are still able to pull out the things that matter for recruiters and for hiring managers that are looking for these continuous improvement professionals. But you need a little bit more, what I like to call getting down in the dirt, right? And learning the tools to equate that 5-year mark and earning that $100,000. But I'm telling you what the data says. The data says that if you have 5 years of experience, then yeah, they're paying $100,000. Now you need to be able to articulate that value on your resume. And more importantly, you need to be able to deliver that when you actually get the job. And I can tell you this, now maybe you don't think $100,000 a year at 27 years old is a lot of money. I wasn't making $100,000 at 27 years old, but again, I hadn't figured out the path yet, right? I hadn't figured out what I needed to do, what I needed to learn. I was in the process of learning everything, but I hadn't figured it out yet. So now I have a question for this subscriber. What are your clients looking for, if not Lean Six Sigma, right? Do you think your clients would want someone who knew how to solve problems through proven methodologies? Do you think your clients would want someone who knew how to remove waste through their process and knew how to do this really quickly with Kaizen? If the answer is yes, then that's definitely what they're looking for. Maybe it just hasn't been pitched that way to them, because a lot of people ask for Lean Six Sigma. They don't really know what they're asking for. It's sort of a proxy. And that leads me into the next question from a subscriber. But before I get to that question, I want to make sure I cover the other question is tied to this one. And that is, Chad, I'm a speaker and trainer, and I'm thinking of becoming a Lean Six Sigma trainer or a Lean Sigma trainer. Can you explain the process and how it works to help your salary? So, and I kind of covered that, right? I talked about that I would cover 2 questions in one. So the process is you have to know Lean. You have to know theory of constraints, and they kind of go hand in hand and together. And I talk about that a lot on this channel. You also have to understand root cause analysis, right? How to solve problems using a proven methodology. Again, I talk about that a lot on the channel. How they work to help your salary is knowing how to put those things together to help the business, right? That's what helps your salary. Being able to help a business get results through these tools. And these tools can be used in any industry and in any field, not just being in continuous improvement, not just being in some sort of a business improvement field. If you're in accounting, finance, it doesn't matter. I've used this in transactional processes, meaning like working with attorneys and legal teams. I've used this on finance teams, accounting teams, operations, manufacturing, all of the above, even business continuity projects. I've done all of that using the tools I've learned over 2 decades of experience. So you can do a lot with these tools, or you can be very niche, very focused, and go strictly into business improvement. And I'm going to talk about niche in other videos. Let's get into the other question from a subscriber, and that is, how difficult is it to get a job with just a green belt certification? I just finished my certification not too long ago, but it seems like companies are asking for black belt or master black belt. Any advice? And so if you remember, I finished up the answer to the question on the proxy. What are companies asking for really? If they're asking for, I want a Lean Six Sigma master black belt, or I want a Lean Six Sigma green belt, is that what they really want? Or they want the value that they believe that those things will bring, right? That those belts will bring. And I think we all can agree that's what the companies really want. They want a person that can bring that value. I mean, if you had a company, right, a hiring manager, and they said, hey, we've got someone here with a master black belt, and we've got another person over here, they don't have a black belt. They don't even have a degree at all. But over the last 5 years, they've helped the company save $10 million, $20 million every year using the tools within those frameworks. And then they would say, okay, which one do you want? Well, of course, they're going to want the person that actually got the results using the tools, right? I mean, the other one's just a belt, it's just a piece of paper. And nowadays, right, if you go online and type in black belt or master black belt training, you'll get so many options to go. You can get a certificate for 100. I've seen certificates for 59 bucks. I'd argue that you can go out and get that master black belt pretty easy and not deliver anything. So I don't put a lot of value when I look at resumes. I don't put a lot of value on the certification. I put the value on what they've done and how they're articulating that value and demonstrating that value through the businesses that they've worked. Now you may be thinking, Chad, I know what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. I agree with you, but that's what they're asking for when I go out and look up these jobs. Now, as part of my research, I found that companies aren't really asking for black belts and master black belts. And mainly some companies have asked for green belts, but even that was kind of sparse. Really what people were asking for is that, can you use the tools? In fact, if you look at the data, only 35% of the companies are asking for any belts at all. And out of that 35%, only 25% were asking for green belts and 10% for black belts. I hardly ran across any job posting that were asking for master black belts. And the reason for that is because as you get more experience and you're able to apply those tools, I don't run across jobs at all. Usually recruiters are reaching out to me. And I think that's what happens when you get to that level, is that recruiters are going to reach out to black belts, high-level black belts, and master black belts because they know that they've used the tools over the years. So I didn't see a lot of postings for master black belts, to be honest, when I did my research. And it makes sense, right? Because recruiters are actually recruiting people at that level. And you can get there as well. But the point I'm making here is that it's just a belt. And really what the companies want to see is value. I know because I've done hiring and I want to see the value. I don't really care about the belt. There was a time when I asked for the belt. Then I started thinking, I was like, well, it doesn't matter if they have a belt. It just matters if they can deliver the value. If you're not able to show your ability and actually deliver that ability, it doesn't matter anyway, right? So let's sum it all up. Is there still relevancy to Lean and Six Sigma today? Lean, yes. Six Sigma, no. I wouldn't even focus on Six Sigma. Sorry, it's true. It's my opinion. If you don't like it, I understand. That's just me on where I've been in the industry and where I see it going. Are there still good jobs in the industry? Absolutely. There's still good jobs in the industry. We've covered that and we kind of based it around salary. How difficult is it to get a job with just a green belt certification? It shouldn't be difficult to get the job with the green belt certification if you are able to articulate your value on your resume or CV. That's the thing there. If you have the green belt and you've done some work over the last couple of years in continuous improvement using that green belt and the tools within the green belt, and you're not getting job interviews, then you're just not articulating your value correctly, okay? And I have a course on that. And this one is, Chad, I'm a speaker. I'm becoming a Lean Six Sigma trainer. Can you explain the process? Well, I've explained the process and how it works to help your salary. If you know how to do Lean and theory of constraints, if you know how to solve problems through systematic root cause analysis, and if you know how to do all of that rapidly through Kaizen, those are the three things I push and teach, and I think that's the way of the future, then you are going to help your salary. Your salary will follow if you know how to use those tools. Trust me.